Zasalamel hails from an ancient tribe that was tasked with the protection of the sacred sword Soulcalibur. He was angered by the sect's edicts that forbade the use of the sword, which didn't allow the tribe to use the weapon if a crisis were to occur. When trying to take Soulcalibur in his own hands, he was discovered and shunned from the tribe. Zasalamel had a natural gift for magic. He could perform spells after only seeing them once, and spent his time in pursuit of ancient and forbidden knowledge thought lost, until he relearned the art of magical reincarnation. The spell worked perfectly, although he continued to age and eventually died. His soul was immediately reborn in another body. This would occur over and over across many generations, living and dying and being reborn, and Zasalamel gradually lost the joy of living as his existence waned and the pain of death increased. However, there was no way to turn off the spell. He could keep being reincarnated for all eternity, and committing suicide, no matter how many times he did it, would only start the cycle over again. In an attempt to end what he considered his curse, Zasalamel set his eyes on the Soul Edge. He would use its soul-devouring properties to destroy himself once and for all, and release himself from the circle of eternal reincarnations. However, even being killed by the sword was not enough, so Zasalamel turned his hopes to Soulcalibur. But when he reached the place where his tribe existed in his original life, he found no traces of life or the Holy Sword. His style of fighting is impressive and striking, volatile and overwhelming. He's one of the few characters that can play from long range, short range, and has a plethora of ring-out options, but this doesn't make him the best choice, nor the best fighter. The reason is because he lacks a well-rounded mix-up game. He's sort of an all-in character. Many of his faster choices quickly give up his turn, even on hit, and his more shady moves take a while before impact, so the opponent can usually beat you to the punch. He is a ring-out king, however. Risk is the price you pay for getting ring-out attributes on half of your moves. Your opponent will be juggling this in their minds at all times, at least if they're familiar with the matchup. So it's your responsibility to punish them and punish them hard every time they hesitate. The reverse is true as well. People who play Zas are typically a victim of overthinking situations. They may see a beautiful ring-out strategy and then get stuffed trying to attempt it, whereas a less majestic B plus a G throw would have done the job. From the opponent's point of view, all they see is really the tip of the iceberg. A lot of adjustments are needed in order for Yomi levels to occur. You may have more interesting fights against someone who has played against your Zas longer, but when it comes down to fighting new opponents, remember that not everyone is going to be hovering at advanced Yomi layers in the first round. This is why he's such an interesting character, especially if you reign supreme with mental games. The very way that he fights can leave your foes bewildered and paralyzed, and when your opponent's defenses seem impenetrable, that's the time to incorporate grapples, or unblockable cancels, or try to bait with whips. Zasalamel can be exploited by anyone willing to put in the time to learn him. The people that don't quickly get put in their place, while the people that do present an interesting challenge. This is a character that has a lot of hidden potential, and there are a few things that I feel one must master in order to use him effectively. Besides having perfect step and zoning, you'll have to know how to fool your opponent into dropping guard. This is generally done by using lows, but Zas doesn't really have any good low options. He has 1A, but it's slow and telegraphed. This isn't the end of the world because he has 3-3B. It has identical timing, and it triggers something in the opponent's head to twitch duck, so you'll get in. Also, a lot of Zas moves force a back turn situation, and many opponents handle this situation poorly. They either attack immediately or they'll just go into a defensive state, so you have choices here. I'm sure there are many of these small tactics you can use to fool the opponent into dropping guard. However, there's only one way to actually force your opponent to become predictable, and that's by using Zasalamel's Soul Crush. He has about 6 moves that can viably be used to do this, but they all come at major significant risk. Everything can be guard impacted, it can be punished, or it can be successfully ducked on reaction. So, mixing these up can be quite difficult and cumbersome. Zas was the first character that I actually took his Soul Gauge game seriously, so I decided to look at his move list on the wiki and scan through it and try to find the moves that could crush Soul Gauge in 10 moves or less. Pressuring or offsetting your own Soul Gauge is vital, if Zasalamel is going to stand a chance in the round. Versus Apprentice, a character that can break A or B grapples simultaneously, how should you handle it? Well, to be honest, I think this matchup isn't really in Zaz's favor at all, but prioritizing your Soul Gauge damage can take a large strain off of your back. But because of the speed at which the Force Gauge replenishes, it can can be difficult to keep apprentices' options limited, to say the least. Finally, if you know how to fool your opponents into dropping guard, and you can pressure your opponents into dropping guard, then you can do the last thing that Zasalamel does best at, and that's exploit ring positioning and force ring outs. Getting 100% out of Zaz means memorizing which combos will ring out and in which direction. This shouldn't be a lucky guess, but instead be an exacting decision that you can draw upon when the moment arises. You must be a caliber scientist. A 10 damage poke could have been a 4A just 2A wall splat 3B ring out. A loss could have been a win. And these tiny adjustments in your playstyle will dictate if you'll be any good with the character or not. A lot of improvements that Zasalamel could receive in Soul Calibur 5. The character lacks the ability to build momentum effectively, or at least properly for the amount of risk he has to deal with all the time. King A says, I definitely would like him to have some kind of cool command grab, a more useful pimp hand, and less unsafe stuff all around. If you've ever played Diablo 2, then you might remember the Barbarian Frenzy skill. Each successful attack that landed made the Barbarian faster so that he'd pick up steam. It would be nice to give something like this to Zasalamel, possibly center his gameplay around the use of B+K, giving him lots of healthy options from it. Also, being able to cancel his A+K guard break into 6BA would have been a welcomed addition. Mikosa says, Broken Destiny was more on the right track for Zaz. For Soul Calibur 5, I hope they expand on his draw and plus frame style of his character. It's okay to give him ridiculous frames on his draws. Some could even combo into pimp hand. His lack of fear-worthy mix-ups could be okay then, better step kill. Again, this is a common weakness with low-tier characters. All his stuff is side-specific, which could be good, but at the moment isn't. I trust Namco. After they make him, we'll balance him based on the atmosphere of Soul Calibur 5. For more information on Zasalamel, check out Lies Incorporated Zasalamel Proto Guide 2.0 here.